Good morning. My name's Emily and I am here today to present to you how the fruit farming sector has been faced with a series of changes in its industry. Businesses globally have faced an economic shock recently due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and now that Brexit has approached, it has hit the UK economy hard, especially in certain sectors such as fruit farming. The sector is currently facing market uncertainty, restrictions on its operations due to COVID, workforce shortages, import and export delays, increase in local demand, climate change scares, and pressure for waste and sustainability procedures. Today I am going to be discussing and analysing how the fruit farming sector has and needs to change in the current economic climate. I will also be presenting what strategic approach and tactical options are available to them. Before I explain further about the changes in this sector, I am going to present a fruit farming market overview and some context about this industry here in the UK and internationally. The fruit farming sector in the UK generated income of just under £900 million in 2019 and has shown rapid growth over the past 18 years. Here in the UK there is around 6,579 fruit farming businesses, and the market leader is Haygrove, who has international sites too. Just under 1.5 billion people globally rely on fruit farming for their livelihood, and this population tend to be the lowest socio-economic class. Globalisation has benefited the sector over the past decades due to an increase in trade between economies, allowing seasonal fruit to be exported all over the world and is available at a low cost. Globalisation in the fruit farming industry has also opened job opportunities for low-skilled workers, and the cheap labour cost benefits the consumers who pay cheaper prices for the goods. However, globalisation in the industry now questions the sustainability of these organic products the farms are producing due to the long-distance transports from global trade and its effects on climate change. In the UK, the fruit farming industry relies on migrant workers from Europe for picking, and overseas workers account for 90% of labour on the UK fruit farms. The current and emergent changes the sector is now facing is due to Brexit, which has changed immigration rules and overseas workers no longer having free movement. The UK leaving the EU has big consequences for the UK fruit farmers, as they will no longer be in the European Common Agricultural Policy, which means they cannot rely on EU workers, which they require, and the EU subsidies they are given. Brexit hit the farms hard last year, and the government had to introduce the Pick for Britain scheme to encourage British workers who were furloughed or made redundant from COVID to work on the farms. An estimate of 70,000 people were required to fill the labour shortage of Eastern Europeans. The COVID-19 pandemic affected the industry in various ways that disrupted the distribution of product, threatened food security, caused labour shortages, and increased production costs, which has highlighted how weak the fruit farming system works. However, the pandemic changed consumers' eating habits, and the demand for fruit and vegetables has doubled due to the virus. Data shows that sales went up 111% for the first 6 weeks of the pandemic. But the farm still required the experienced pickers from Romania and Bulgaria to train the British workers, and due to restrictions, fruit farms had to charter flights to bring in 150 Romanian farm workers to pick fruit and speed up the job. Once the fruit farms had the labour issues resolved, the working practices had to change to meet the COVID requirements set out by the government, which included social distancing. This slowed down the process and came at a cost to the sector, as usually workers would share accommodation on the farms, which means they all had to isolate and not work if symptoms of the virus had developed in one member of staff who lived in the caravan with other employees. Strategic thinking is needed to identify what changes the sector needs to implement following the changes in its environment. The sector is currently in a divergent stage due to no stability in the market and it being unpredictable due to the government restrictions. This questions the efficiency of the current working practice on fruit farms, and if their business model is still effective post-pandemic and Brexit. The leadership style is important to ensure the sector can recover from the impacts, and transformational leadership traits will create a vision, establish direction, and produce the changes that are needed to stay competitive and thrive. It could be argued the fruit farming sector needs a reconstruction type of strategic change due to how quickly it needs to adapt, but the current culture can still remain. The resource-based model will also be beneficial to the sector as it focuses on the internal strategy for the company to meet its external future needs. As COVID highlighted, they have an issue with labour, and without this resource the fruit farms cannot perform. Focusing on a resource strategy and a cost leadership strategy will give them a competitive advantage. These models and actions will form the crisis management response to the unplanned change of Brexit and COVID to ensure organisational development. Based on the impact of COVID and Brexit, labour resources are the main problem fruit farms are facing. It is clear the sector needs to innovate if UK farms want to recover and be proactive in the future. The pandemic is an opportunity to innovate for different systems to ensure best business practice and organisational development. It is important the sector has the capacity to change and research and development communities implement alternative strategies to ensure a successful state post-Brexit and COVID. The first innovative tactical option for the sector to change would be to introduce robots that replace the human labour. Introducing this type of technology will be a resource they can rely on and removes the issues the sector faces when it requires over 60,000 seasonal workers in the summer. This is classed as a strategic change due to it being a large-scale, important change. This transformational change of introducing the robots needs to be managed with consideration to ensure it is effective. It is important all employees understand why this change is happening, and the role of the manager needs emotional intelligence, as there may be fears from employees as robots are taking their job. This would require an emergent approach as it is continuous and can be implemented using Lewin's three-step model, as it is argued this model is understood when managing change through group, organisational and societal levels. However, as this option is such a large transformational change, an action research approach could be used, so further research and analysis can be done to decide what is best change for the sector. The second tactical option based on analysis of the sector is to nationalise UK fruit farms, as it is public food and the sector were already receiving subsidies under European laws when in the EU. The sector now needs financial support due to Brexit, and the government controlling the sector while policies are created post-Brexit could save the future of fruit farms and keep the UK market competitive in the global market. This could be a temporary measure until the UK has a new agricultural bill. And the government has the chance to boost jobs in the UK economy with the UK workforce. However, this organisational change may not be welcomed due to the power and politics in organisations. Due to the contingent circumstances and the type of change being introduced, the decision-making process may be affected. It is recommended that the fruit farm sector invests in the technology available and that robots are used to replace human labour. External factors in the economic climate will no longer be a great risk to the sector's stability, and the consumers will not feel an increase of prices from their goods. Technology and automation reduces the risk of labour shortages and will give the farms that introduce them that competitive advantage. Thank you for listening. I will now answer any questions.